See Weatherland. Here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. Well, the daily chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms continuing over the next couple of days. Pretty good chances of afternoon and early evening storms. Then all eyes are going to be on the Gulf of Mexico with a developing system that will in all likelihood become a tropical storm. If so, the first name of the season will be Alberto. Where will the impacts be? We're thinking just east of the area. That is the good news. The bad news is somebody's going to get a lot of rain and tropical storm conditions, and it may be close to a hurricane at landfall. We'll take a look at that as well. First off, big picture, here we go with that big ridge of high pressure that's dry and producing descending air across much of the western Gulf of Mexico. And you can see that drier air working its way all the way down to that disturbance by the Yucatan. So we're not going to see any rapid development, but a subtropical depression or depression may form over the next 24 hours. I'll tell you why in just a bit. But first off, locally scattered showers and thunder showers across the area. Activity on the wane, but we see more activity offshore. That means we might see a couple of isolated cells overnight tonight, and then first thing in the morning along the coastal areas. Now late this afternoon, most of Acadiana drying out. Got a nice little cell producing some thunder as well, just east of the Washington area, north of Port Barry, but that's about it locally. You can see a few more cells off to the north, but things quieting down. So as we head into the overnight hours, perhaps a renegade shower or storm, but generally quiet toward tomorrow morning. But we'll see showers and storms developing along the coast first thing in the morning. And anytime you see the storms late at night, 3, 4 in the morning forming off the coast, you know you're going to go with at least a 40 or 50% chance of storms inland. And that's what we're going to see for tomorrow. Things will begin to fire up at lunchtime and continue into the afternoon, and this model run giving us a little bit of a Chafalaya evening special like what we saw last night. Thunderstorms, a nice light show, and then those storms moving westward across the area during the course of the evening. And then we'll probably do it all over again on Saturday. In fact, maybe a slightly better chance of afternoon storms beyond the 2 o'clock time frame. Meanwhile, as we look at the satellite imagery, most of the heavier storms off to our east or out in the Gulf of Mexico this afternoon. Then it's very quiet western Gulf, and there's our area of broad low pressure. Really don't see much of a surface system right here, but we're thinking somewhere around here there's a low, but you can see nothing particularly organized. There's upper atmospheric shear, but the bottom line, the National Hurricane Center upping the ante for this to develop to 90%, and they usually do that when it's within a day of developing. So we think it'll become a subtropical or tropical depression. Subtropical if it's a low pressure system with dry air mixed in, but eventually some of that moisture may get sealed off and within the system. And as we look at the tropical models through Saturday, this is where we think we're going to see some development. Then we go into Sunday, Monday, and some of the models are in the camp that bring it to the north-northwest, and then once it goes inland, it drifts it to the east, some back to the west, but we won't take much of this model guidance yet. We'll just take it with a grain of salt. European model, I think, does a pretty good idea of what is going to occur, and this is Sunday with more than likely a tropical storm or subtropical storm, a storm with a name, approaching the northern Gulf Coast, especially Mississippi, Alabama, as we get into Memorial Day. Notice Acadiana's on the dry side of things, maybe even New Orleans. Then it makes landfall, and then after that, we'll see if it's going to drift to the west or drift to the east or just continue to move to the north like the European model. So it's all going to be about the moisture with this system. We showed you that European moisture, and this is the first guidance I'm actually showing on air, but it's very close to what the Weather Prediction Center is forecasting. Anything in yellow is going to be better than 8 inches of rain. So you see that hot spot. This is a 10-inch hot spot over by Mobile Bay. That could be over by the Florida Panhandle, could be a little bit farther to the west. So things could change with time, but right now it's looking pretty favorable for Acadiana and not so bad for eastern Louisiana as well. So storms tapering tonight, warm and humid overnight tonight, 72 the low tomorrow, up to 90 for a high. Again, showers and storms kick in the afternoon, perhaps into the early evening hours. I'm going to go with rain chance at 50%. We'll go 60% Saturday. And then if it all works out well, these rain chance numbers may be even lower, but we're going to play that some tropical moisture scoots westward with that tropical system. So we'll say watching the Gulf, stay informed as we go into the weekend. A lot of folks think they take the weekend off, the big weekend starting after tonight, and the forecast doesn't change. But if you looked at my 10-day forecast 2 days days ago it was a lot more pessimistic. This is a lot more optimistic. And we'll just go with it for right now. And by the way, after the storm, a little bit of a heat wave developing mid to late next week. Yes.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Still ahead on K.